All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today I'm talking with, he's known as the Reverend, also Quindonian, if that's how it's pronounced, right?
Yep.
All right, so basically what I do here is I talk to people about their journeys away from their beliefs, whatever they may have been, and kind of the journey that took them on, the ups, the downs, the relationship effects that happened, that kind of thing, and into becoming sort of the atheist activist that you are today. And judging by your profile picture on Twitter, which, by the way, guys, I have a link to down below if you want to follow him. You were on the Atheist Experience? Is that
I actually visited. I went and met the guys. I was in the audience. The picture is simply my my kind of fanboy picture, having got into the studio and had a picture taken at the desk.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I was down there. Sat in there and held up the Book of Eric and all that stuff.
That's it.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Got to be done.
Yeah, oh yeah. If you're there, you got to do it. You got to have your picture taken or a video or something where you're using one of the closing statements, or like I did, and whatnot, which was kind of fun. But anyways, so let's get into it. Tell us a little bit about how you first started noticing your previous belief systems were nonsense and what led you out of that.
Well, as we kind of exchange messages leading up to this, I'm perhaps a bit of a fraud on this program in the sense that I was never converted in the first place. There were a few attempts, but I kind of grew up in a household where we didn't really do much of the God church stuff apart from the odd kind of midnight mass at Christmas. The occasional christening. Other than that, we didn't really do the church thing.
Right.
When I was, like 6 or 7, and the whole and Jesus story was introduced to me, I somewhat naively, as a 6 or 7-year-old would probably do, couldn't quite understand how someone could be born at Christmas, die at Easter, which is only 3 months apart or thereabouts, and get all that stuff done. So, as a young child, the whole thing just confused me, and I really took an interest in the sciences very early as well. So that steered me away and protected me. So despite things like I don't know if you have it over there, but there's a thing. It's like a Baptist version of Cub Scouts. So I went along to those. I went to Sunday school for a while. We did a few Bible classes, but none of it made any sense. It just seemed kind of crazy. So there have been a number of attempts to convert, none of which have really worked. So I'm kind of clean in that sense.
Clean. That's a good way to put it. Well, when people were trying to, like, when you see, let me get this straight. You guys were kind of like a Christian ultra light, like you went every once in a blue kind of thing to a mass for some holiday kind of thing.
Yeah, my parents, whenever the census came through, or if anyone asked, they would say, yes, we're Christian. In fact, the Church of England Christian. It was that sort of Anglican side of things.
Sure.
They didn't have much to good to say about the Catholics and all that Latin and all that nonsense.
Right.
But yeah, they were very much Church of England and never the twain shall meet. But it was very light, as you say. It was never really pushed on us. I think that there were occasions where my parents kind of thought we ought to do a bit more, which is where things like the Sunday school and the Boys Brigade ideas came from.
Right.
But it was never pushed seriously.
Do you think that they were just trying to put that stuff in your guys' lap or your lap, just to sort of give you a sense of values at all or something like that? Because you know how Christians are always saying that we can't have morality without God and stuff like that. Do you think that may have had something to do with it? Or?
I think so. I think there's that sense of all good people are good Christians and so on, which has probably come from their parents and their parents' parents and so on. It's that sort of intergenerational indoctrination that goes on.
Right.
But there was never any really serious push. I think sometimes my worst enemy was my imagination. In that I'd see. I don't know if you know the movie Quo Vadis.
I haven't seen it, but I know
it's kind of it's a story of, I can't remember what it is. Is it a slave or something? Anyway, it's within the time period of Jesus's life and death, and this poor guy going around with all this stuff going on in the background, and if I remember rightly, he's kind of there at the crucifixion, and I remember with some of those movies and some of those things, I would occasionally feel moved and think, well, maybe this is right. I mean, where would a story like this come from if it weren't true? But even that was kind of early on. That was, I don't know, pre-teenage years. That used to sometimes tug at the heartstrings a bit. But yeah, I've not really had to suffer the agonies of deconversion.
Right.
I see people discussing it online. You hear the comments and so on, and some of your pieces as well, and it sounds in some cases horrific. And I can only say that I'm very glad not to have had to go through all of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the stories that I've had on the show where people talk about family members disowning them and stuff like that, it's pretty heartbreaking, if you ask me. Like I could never be involved in a system or a belief system that requires you to do that in order to stay in the eyes of God as a good person. You have to disown your family. That to me is just utterly ridiculous.
Yes, yes, it is.
And just so you guys know, I saw a thing about something comment there from Mark Caesar about good of me to show up. Unfortunately, guys, just before I went live, I was trying to enjoy this nice Tim Hortons coffee, and I accidentally spilt it all over the keyboard. So I spent a few minutes cleaning up my keyboard before we went live. So that's why I was a couple minutes late. And yes, I would probably, as somebody else said, I think, I can't remember who it was that said that, I would probably show up late to my own funeral. Yes, more than likely.
Although keyboards are never the same once they've had coffee in them.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'll be bouncing off the walls.
Absolutely. But in a parallel to the whole deconversion thing, what I have got caught up in kind of a bit later on in life is a rather strange psychotherapy group. So I did go through a painful breakup and ended up going off to a group of people. And it turned out to be something of a psychotherapy cult, where a lot of the same dynamics that you see in religion were enacted there. And that was very strange. So that had all the hallmarks of the the love bombing that occurs in churches. There's all the you're one of us, very much creating a family. And then the moment that you kind of move away from it or suggest that you're not entirely happy with it, suddenly all of that gets switched off. You're ostracized from all these people that have professed to be your friends for a very long time. And so, yes, the same. It's interesting how the same dynamics appear in other situations. It's very much like the stories around religion. So,
absolutely. Do you think this thing fell under the BITE model, where you have like behavioral control, informational control, thought control, emotional control type thing?
Yeah, there was certain aspects of that, and it was when it really started to get into some of the thought control type moves that the alarm bells went off.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So that was kind of scary, but happily got out of that.
How long were you in that, and was it easy to get out of? Like, did you just stop showing up, or how do you handle something like that?
Well, in that case, it started off with trying to do a gentle exit and suggesting, everything's absolutely fine here, knowing that it's not, saying everything's absolutely fine here, everything's cool, I just don't feel the need for it anymore. Having the fairly a kind of aggressive response back about how can you possibly leave and so on.
Wow.
But then trying to do the cut everything off quickly, rip the Band-Aid off kind of thing, and then it was very much the. In fact, it was kind of even worse than the ostracization and cut off from all your friends, because you also get to hear on the grapevine that the story within the group is that he's had a bit of a breakdown. This is an episode. All the kind of usual psychological claptrap that comes out in order to defend the group, the identity of the group, keep the group going. Really similar to the sorts of things that I see people having to go through with churches.
Absolutely. Did you ever fall into any of the like I did, any of the sort of pagan belief systems at all, or like any interest or friends that might have been trying to get you into that sort of thing?
I know of a few people that have been on that side of things. I kind of got to the point where I was curious about most belief systems, and so I've had conversations with people about that sort of thing. My work takes me more east than west these days, so I get to visit India, Singapore, and so on fairly regularly, and so I spend time talking to people over there about Hinduism and so on. But none of it. I think it wasn't there that old quote about you could spend time learning one religion and really get into it, or you can spend a bit of time learning more than one religion, and that will teach you that none of them are true. I've completely matched that quote, and I'm sure that there are people online that know exactly what I'm talking about, but I can't remember.
I hear you. I think I know the exact quote you're referring to, and when you I think that's the best way to do it, especially if you have kids. Like, just investigate all the religions, and soon you'll find out that they'll realize that they're all just mythological, like made up mythologies.
Well, when you start having people turning into tigers, or people transforming into different people so that they can go and sleep with the wife of some mortal somewhere, and all that stuff, it really starts to sound a lot like fairy stories.
Absolutely.
And I think that the one that you grow up with, you're kind of immune to the fairy tale-ness of it to some extent.
Sure.
So some of the Christian stories, when you talk about those to Hindus and so on, of course they have a wry smile in the same way as we do when you hear about Ganesh and Shiva and so on. It's you kind of get deadened to things that you're exposed to from a very early age.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what I often say to people, like when I'm talking to believers and stuff like that. I'm like, you realize that the only reason you're a X is because you were born in the country where that's the most prominent belief system. So like to a Christian, imagine if you were born in India, you might be a Hindu right now and defending the Hindu faith. So
absolutely.
Right. And that's I don't think that they actually think about that so much.
No,
when you bring that up, they'd like, oh shit, I've had a couple of people respond to like, oh wow, I never really thought about that. So
but it's strange that it comes as a surprise, because it's such an obvious idea, really.
Well, for you and me.
But there's so much invested as well in one's religion as part of their identity, that even when you do ask a question like that really has the potential to hit home and get someone thinking. It's surprising how quickly that sense of that's a good question, I'm really not sure about that, just evaporates, because it's just too dangerous to think about. Well, at least my opinion is that they feel it's too dangerous to think about.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll hand wave away questions like that. The questions that are too much for them, like they can't conceive of an answer, so they'll just kind of hand wave it away. And well, I'm a whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, my God is the right one.
Yeah,
just blanket statements, cut off like that. My God is the right one. That's it. And once you get to that point, it's very hard to get around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean the number of times that conversations on Twitter just end with something quite inane about, well, my God's the right one, I'm off, or well, you don't know what you're talking about. Just very simple cut off statements that you can't really do much with.
Yeah.
In fact, there's one account on Twitter who is constantly coming out with fairly kind of inane stuff, in my view. And their only response to me these days, they've given up trying to answer any questions or respond in any kind of sensible way, and they simply write "okay" back. And whatever I say, they just write "okay." What do you do with that?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Because it's like I don't know. I think they get good at just answering questions with these sort of almost rhetorical answers that go nowhere.
Yes.
Because they're afraid. I think a lot of them are afraid to discuss.
Yes.
Or at least the epistemological side of it. They're afraid to discuss why they believe what they believe. Because they don't really have any good answers other than that's how I was raised.
Yes. Or some other comment that you can just tell it's being regurgitated from some other apologist.
Yeah.
If you ask a question about, well, where did that come from, no one can answer. But I think it's back to this thing about people's identities are so wrapped up in what it is they've been taught to believe.
Yeah.
It's just too dangerous to contemplate talking about or thinking about anything that's different.
Right. Dangerous in the sense that they might lose their identity, or they think they're going to lose their identity.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, for a lot of people that were raised that way, and very fundamental from almost word go, that kind of would be losing themselves a little bit if they were suddenly to stop believing, we'll say. And that's a tough hole to fill when you've been doing something a certain way for so long. But it's not impossible, because I've known people that were right in there. They were preachers, for crying out loud, and they were able to pull themselves out of there and make something of their lives outside of that.
Yes.
So it's not impossible.
I suppose the other thing that strikes me as kind of odd about this whole topic is how people can grow up in the same environment and end up with very different end products. So I have one sister and two brothers. So the sister is some kind of strange God believer, in the sense that goes to church occasionally, seems to believe in all of the creation story and all the rest of it. And if you try and talk about evolution or actually any of the science that might contradict what's in the Bible, you get back to that thing I was saying earlier about the regurgitated apologist stuff, that not knowing where it comes from. So that's I find that hard to understand, how that could come from the same family environment that I did. Then I look at next one down is my brother, who is, I think, vaguely sensible, and then the youngest one is a spiritualist healer who goes around kind of laying hands on and so on, which is kind of weird, because he's actually he's on benefits, because he says he can't work because his hands don't work properly, and he's got all these issues, all these health issues. Yeah, and yet he's apparently a spiritualist healer, healing other people, and that doesn't add up. As you can imagine, I don't spend a lot of time talking to him very much. That's a futile, completely futile pastime. So even within an environment where we had kind of Anglican Church light, not much influence, not much in the way of church and so on, we all ended up quite different.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it, yeah. So your youngest brother, I guess, is the faith healer?
Yes.
So how come he's not working in hospitals healing children and stuff like that?
Yeah, he doesn't like that question very much.
I'm assuming you've asked him.
Yeah. He's. I can't make any sense out of. Well, I think he's got a belief system, because a system suggests that everything adds up and connects.
Right.
He has a random belief generator kind of setup.
That's a good way to put it. I like that better, actually. Yeah, because actually that makes a lot of sense, because you could have a website for that random belief generator.
Yeah.
Just type in some words and then make up a belief system for you. Because we did that for our band name. Well, we never used the one they suggested, but you could just type in a couple of things that would randomly generate band names for you over and over and over again. So this is a great idea. If you want to have a belief system, we should have a belief system generator.
I think we should set the URL up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it'd be hilarious to see or to read some of the ideas that they come up with. Because it would have to give you a background of what the belief system was. I think that'd be a lot of fun, actually, to have something like that.
I think so.
Imagine the tweets that would come from something like that.
Oh, great.
I'm going to ask you right now, because I don't know if I asked you before, but following these interviews, I always do an after party. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but now you're under no obligation to be a part of it, of course, but I do like to suggest people jump in at least for 10, 15 minutes or so of the after party, just to say hello to some folks and stuff like that, right? But we still got a lot of time here to chat. So, yeah.
So I guess the nearest thing. Actually, I'm just thinking about where this might go and thinking this is probably not the right direction. But
there's no wrong here on this show, by the way.
I guess the nearest thing that I might have to anything vaguely religious is that kind of belief in the scientific method as being the best way to understand the truth of the world that we live in and the reality that we find ourselves in. And that's, I guess, the difference, though, between that and religion is that it works.
Exactly.
In that, if someone said, well, give me evidence of the scientific method, well, that's very easy to do. Or, can you prove that this is right, that it does come up with answers? Well, yes, we can. Yes, it comes up with some wrong answers in some occasions, but usually based on incomplete data or misunderstandings. And even the best scientists have come up with kind of crazy interpretations. I mean, for goodness sake, Newton was an alchemist trying to turn lead into gold.
Right. Yeah.
He was a genius, but in some cases misguided.
Oh my goodness. Here we go again. Okay. I get these guys popping into my show every once in a while, trying to get me to talk to. I have no interest in this at all, so you guys can stop. I appreciate the watch time addition, but you guys can really stop bothering me. I have no desire to talk to Dawkins at all, none whatsoever.
No.
So be prepared. They're about to post little chicken logos and stuff, like pictures of chickens and stuff like they always do that. It's hilarious.
Okay.
What do you do?
But then if the task that's being presented to you is an impossible one, then is it chicken to back away from it, or is it just simply rational and sensible?
I just don't have time for it. I don't no desire. The way he talks to people, I've not been impressed with. So I just have no desire to talk to him.
No, I've heard him on a few things, and there's just no point.
The one he did with Shannon Q, and Shannon just could not stop laughing. This guy, which is too funny. Yeah, she's on right now too, which is like, yeah, she's stealing all my audience. I've seen a bunch of people that usually hang out here. They're over watching her show. But
maybe we need to work out how we steal them back.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we'll go. We should send all these Darth Dawkins people over there to threaten them instead. Maybe then they'll come around. I don't want to steal Shannon's audience. She's a friend, so. And she's she's talking to Hemet Mehta today, for crying out loud. I mean, I'll be talking to him too in the future, but yeah, he's an important guy. So
yes, that's quite a coup.
So you're talking here about how you believe in the scientific method and stuff like that, and how that could be the closest thing that you could you could come to about religiously. I guess you believe in it religiously, I suppose. But I've often talk to people about scientific methods and stuff, and a lot of times if you're dealing with someone that's not in that field, like theists and stuff like that, that really don't understand how it all works, because they haven't been given the opportunity to learn either too. No. So I can't really hold it up in their face and go, hey, like it's not really fair, because being raised the way they were, they weren't really given the chance to learn this stuff. They were told that this is the way, and this is the only way, and anything else is either satanic or wrong or made up or whatever, right? So, lots of them are coming in now. Hi, guys. Thanks for dropping by. Anyways, so I can't really get upset at people like that, but all we can really try and do is show them legitimate sites that they can go to learn about these sorts of things, about how, I mean, we know a lot about how things got going. We may not know what happened before everything started going, but we're pretty close to that already right now. I mean, they know everything pretty much from the moment that the what do you call it, the singularity happened for the Big Bang, which wasn't really a bang. It didn't make any noise. But anyways, it was more like a rapid expansion. And they know how that mechanically worked, and they know how long it took for things to spread out the way it did. And there's all kinds of stuff that they know about now.
Absolutely.
Now they're even close. They're really, really close to figuring out the abiogenesis question too. And we can thank things like the vents on the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that. Extremophiles.
There's some fabulous work being done around all that stuff. But what I tend to find with the religious people is that they can't get their head around the idea that life doesn't begin with a fully formed cell.
Right.
So
it doesn't. I know that. I'm a chemist.
So Ontangelo, who has popped up fairly regularly in his experience. So he claims that he's a biologist and a chemist, and he knows all this stuff really well.
No, he doesn't.
No, he definitely doesn't. But if you engage with him and try and say, well, okay, well, how would a cell evolve? Because evolution doesn't start with a cell. There was all sorts of stuff beforehand. So you've got hypotheses around an RNA world and so on, where there's much simpler things. And then if you go back even further, just self-catalyzing sets, simple molecules that create each other in a loop around some kind of energy source. Back to your hydrothermal vents. Very, very simple things that are the kind of basis of simple metabolisms and so on. It doesn't start with whole cells, but trying to explain that, particularly because I tend to work through Twitter at the moment, trying to do that in short tweets is very difficult.
Sure it is.
But the I think the other side of that is that while we do know quite a lot, the response that gets the worst, not worst, no, the most frustrated responses from the others. How did life actually start then? I don't know. We've got lots of hypotheses and we've got lots of parts of the model, but do I know the answer? No, I don't know. What happened to cause
that close?
I don't know. Well, did it come from nothing? Well,
no,
not
such thing as nothing. So.
Not nothing in the sense you mean, no.
Yeah, that's right.
But even when we talk about the physics sense of nothing, that's not entirely clear either. There are various hypotheses around the universe coming from something that existed before.
That's right.
So, no, we don't know, but no, it probably, well, almost certainly didn't come from nothing in the sense you mean, and that just drives people crazy.
Yeah, they can't fathom that. They don't understand that there can't be a nothing, because everywhere we look, we've never found nothing. We've always found something. Yes. Doesn't matter what. So there has never really been, as far as we can tell, a nothing. Yes. See, there we go, right there. See, chicken. I love it. It's hilarious. They think it insults me. I just laugh my ass off of these people.
Yeah. Well, it is Easter, so it's a chicken to be traditional.
Oh, there, David Worley has shown up. Hey, David, how you doing, brother? Go talk with apparently Darth Dawkins wants to have me, and I have absolutely zero interest in talking to him. So there you go. Maybe you can handle him for me. I have no desire.
Yeah.
The way he goes about it is just not really my thing. So
no,
I don't really debate. I like to talk to people, but I don't really debate much. I mean, I can, but I don't. It's too much for me. See? Oh, there we go. Chicken. I just had chicken yesterday, actually, from a place called Nando's, which is you're familiar? Oh yeah, you guys have Nando's.
Oh, yeah, we have those too.
Delicious.
Yes, a well-known chicken place. Yeah,
delicious chicken.
So we find ourselves talking for the weekend where an all-powerful God was supposedly put together a plan to forgive everybody by having himself murdered on a piece of wood, disappearing for part of a weekend. I mean, you can't say that he died, can you? Because Jesus is God. God is immortal.
How do you kill who you ask?
It's kind of so yeah. It's the weekend when God inconvenienced himself slightly for a few days in order to forgive everybody for things that he set us up to do in the first place.
Right. I mean, really, all he needed to do was just forgive. He didn't have to go through all that elaborate nonsense, right? Spilling blood. Who the hell worships a deity like that? Come on. Fucking blood sacrifices all the time. These are blood cults, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. It is a death cult.
Yeah, it is. Totally. He flooded the entire planet. Like, what kind of a dick does that? Just go, look, guys, you fucked up. Stop fucking up and everything will be good.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if he'd actually produced some instructions that everybody could follow and not have to interpret? But,
Jew on a stick day. That's funny.
So here we are in the middle of that feast. So it's Saturday today. So this was the day he was inconvenienced, and tomorrow he gets up again and goes, "Hi, everyone."
Yeah. Jesus gave up his weekend for your sins.
Absolutely. When you put it like that, it's not quite as compelling as a kind of religious culmination of thousands of years of prophets and so on.
Fuck. The story has been done before anyways. People have been persecuted and killed for whatever, and then they became martyrs for whatever belief system elsewhere too. I mean, it's not the first time this sort of thing has happened in the ancient mythologies. So this just happens to be one of the more recent versions.
Yes. Yes, it's all borrowed from elsewhere.
Oh yeah,
There's no new stories, as they say.
that's right. And purple with rhymes with orange says Happy Jewish Zombie Day. Yeah,
excellent. Yes, thank you very much.
I have been wandering the streets of Jerusalem in the old city before, and I'll say the times that I've noticed people look more like zombies is on a holiday called Purim, which is usually in the springtime as well. But they drink a lot, so by the time they're done with it, they're all wandering around the streets, all hammered and looking like zombies at that point too. So, but Purim's over already. Now it's almost Passover, which is another story. And the picture that you see, the Last Supper, is actually a Passover Seder as well. That one. I've got a different version where it's got all the scientists. In the center we got Einstein, we've got Hawking and Marie Curie and all these other scientists right back to the Greek days, all sitting around Einstein. It's really, really cool. So I use it as my wallpaper on my computer.
That's cool. Isn't Passover the one where the all-knowing God needed people to paint blood on the doors so that he knew which to murder?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So he knew which infants to kill. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because obviously the all-knowing God wouldn't know which ones to kill all by himself.
Right. Right. And he, of course, needed someone to do all the killing for him because he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. Right? So
absolutely.
You there, angel of death, go and do my bidding.
Yeah.
Slacker. Oh. I can't tell you. I got to go through that story every year, my friend, because my family's still Jewish, so I got to sit around the table with them. Not this year, of course, because of the whole COVID-19 thing, but it's worth it for the food. Because man, I'm telling you, the food on Passover is fucking awesome. That's all. I can tell you. So,
one of the things that has been interesting about the whole COVID-19 pandemic is the response of the religious right, because to start with, it was it's the Chinese virus. It won't come over here. It's all fine. And then there were the kind of all the prayer meetings imploring God to make sure that it didn't come over to Western Europe, the US. Then of course it came, and whilst people are praying for a new job or to find their car keys and they don't, it's not kind of life and death as such. You potentially praying for some relative who's in hospital. It's something really nasty. Maybe that's more immediate and potentially leads to more questions. But if you've got something that is running around the world, killing people left, right, and centre, all over the place, particularly older, weaker people, how does that square with the Christian God, or any of the others for that matter?
Couldn't tell you.
How do people that are believers in all their stuff manage to turn that story into something that makes any kind of sense? I don't quite see how that works.
They claim that God has released this virus because of homosexuals. Well, somehow,
yes.
Like there's this Jewish rabbi, like there's any other ones in Israel that claim that, and there's a couple other priests or parishioners or whatever the hell they are that have also made those claims too, like a Pat Robertson type guy has made those claims as well. Everything is sent because of homosexuality.
Yeah. Wasn't it one of the particularly loud Jewish rabbis who made that claim about it's been sent because of homosexuality, and he caught it?
Yes, I believe actually.
So he's actually got.
Yeah, Hammett Mehta posted that article, I think, in his on Patheos there, the Friendly Atheist, which is where I found it.
No, right.
So that's kind of where I picked that one up.
Yeah, I think it may have been retweeted from there as well. That's how I saw it.
Yeah,
but I really don't. There's levels of cognitive dissonance. It's like a staircase. So there's the simple stuff where I can't find my key. I pray. No one tells me where my keys are. I eventually find them somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you kind of go stepping up, and you go through the personal tragedies and so on. And then, as was just pointed out, hurricanes. How do you then square up hurricanes turning up, destroying houses, killing people, with this all-powerful, all-benevolent God?
Mm-hmm.
But then the hurricane is confined, isn't it? And then you've got a global pandemic. Okay, how do you square that one? That one makes no sense.
I know. Probably because of heavy metal music. But now we're going back to the satanic panic of the 80s, which is they thought that all the heavy metal music was. So, and I remember this comedian. I think it was who the hell was? I think it was Bobcat Goldthwait that said this one time. He goes, "Yeah, I could just see Beelzebub down there in the bowels of hell, thinking up new rock songs. Like I have to destroy humanity a little more. I need a new song. I got it. We are the world. We are the children. That ought to get them."
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right?
Although some would say that one was kind of satanic in its slightly annoying.
Actually, I liked all those that they came up with. They had the Northern Lights, which is a Canadian one. They had the British one. I can't remember what they called themselves.
Band-Aid,
and then the US version as well, where all of them made songs.
Yeah, they all made records,
which is a very nice thing to do, I guess, because the money they raised off of this went to some great causes. So, yeah,
it would be interesting to know how many of the people who triggered those songs are actually kind of strong believers, and how many of them aren't. I mean, where did the good for the good idea come from to make those records if people aren't believers? Maybe it's just that people are capable of great goodness.
Yeah, without having the necessity for any religious belief. Yeah, I'm one, right?
Yeah.
I don't have any religious belief, but I try and do good things for community, for people in general, like the whole blood donation thing that I do, right? So a perfect example of you don't need a God to be moral or do good things for other people. You just don't. And I think myself and yourself and other people are living proof of that. So
we're just members of a social species.
Exactly.
And if we are to survive, we have to support each other.
Absolutely.
And if we weren't built that way, we'd have died out quite some time ago.
Exactly. That's the main thing, is to make sure that we're all in this together, and that we know that, and that we do the best we can for each other to make things better while we're here. Because a lot of religious people believe that this is almost like just a welcoming mat to the real life that comes after. So they don't live their best lives while they're here, which is sad, if you ask me. So
heaven's waiting room.
Yeah,
sitting there.
Heaven's waiting room.
Yeah, sitting there looking at everybody else in their waiting room seats, wondering, well, which ones are going to get through and which ones aren't, and how can I make myself look better than the other ones so as I get a better chance of going through? Exactly. Not necessarily through going good. It's the waste of a life.
Mark Caesar says I should put backwards lyrics on my songs. I'm sure that if you played some of my songs backwards, you'd probably hear words, because I think that's another form of pareidolia. We kind of see and hear and feel things that we want to, but that's the whole backmasking thing from way back in the day. There's some pretty funny stuff that they found, we'll say.
Yeah. Well, we're pattern making engines.
Yep.
We'll find patterns in pretty much anything, whether they're there or not.
Yep. And we'll even convince ourselves that we saw that, because that's what we do. We seek patterns. It's a survival instinct, I believe, that's stuck with us from early days. I think Tracy Harris had a great example. She says, if you're walking home, it's dark, and you walk through an alley, and you see like something moved by a dumpster over there, and you're like, oh, you're on the defense, because that could be something that's out to get you, and and eventually you realize it's just the wind that blew a garbage bag, but you automatically think that it's a predator that's going to get you, right? And that's just how we react to that sort of thing, which is a good thing, really, because you're more bound to keep yourself safe from stuff like that when you have those types of things. So I don't have a problem with it, but when it goes to an extent like religious belief, then I don't know. I kind of lose it from there.
Yeah. I don't know where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, apparently we're genetically predisposed to believe in stuff like that anyways. But eventually some of us have evolved past that. We can see past that, although I didn't always, right? But eventually I found my way out of that sort of stuff and into a far more...
Well, I mean, it is an evolution. Yeah, it is an evolutionary advantage, though, isn't it? If you are being told something by your kind of elders who have lived life and have worked out all these kind of rules of thumb and the patterns that work and the patterns that don't and so on, it's an advantage for you to take those on and believe them as well, because generally speaking, rule of thumb, they will work. There might be some that are a bit off, but they will work. Where it goes wrong, as you say, is where some of those rules that they've picked up have been kind of indoctrinated into them from a strange source, where actually it doesn't actually make any sense at all. But because it catches you very early, that same circuitry that makes you believe the rules that you're taught by your elders early on gets deep inside. And so much like the fluttering garbage bag, it kind of goes in, you react, you make it part of you, kind of back to identity, really. It's such a deep part of you that it's hard to get free of.
It can be very hard.
And so round we come back to religion and trying to deconvert again. Always leading to the same place.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I wish, I almost sometimes wish that there was like a way just to point to something that would make people think so deeply at that moment where they go, wow, holy shit, you're right. How could I have ever been involved with this kind of thought pattern? Unfortunately, there's nothing really like that. And some people are harder to get these messages across to than others. Like that Darth Dawkins diphead that these guys keep sending people to fucking try and worm me out into his space, but that's okay. I'm not biting it. I have no desire to talk to that clown at all. So
life's too short.
Yeah. I mean, there's much more productive things I could be doing with my time than talking to that ass. But anyway, well, I think maybe what we could do is cut this out a little early and get into an after party, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's good.
And we can talk to some more folks and have some other ones in here. I see that my friend Mikey, the Deviance, is in the chat, and I wouldn't mind having him in. He doesn't get into my chats as often as he used to. So that'd be cool. And anyone else who would like to join us, just let me know through Twitter on the DMs or Facebook if you don't have me on Twitter. and we'll get into a little bit more fun. And I'm switching over from coffee to beer in a few minutes because it's now afternoon, so I can technically drink and not feel ashamed. You know what I mean? So well, I'll have some beers by the time we. He's like, I'm primed and ready to go. Attaboy. Wait a minute. Settle down, Mikey. Okay. Anyway, well, thanks, man, for joining me today. It's been great chatting with you. I know you didn't have much of a deconverted story, but I think we covered a lot of necessary ground where we talk about why people believe things and what we could possibly do to try and convince them otherwise is always a good topic. Like epistemology to me is always a great topic.
Well, thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about to get even crazier. So, guys, if you're interested, like I said, let me know. There are links to follow the Reverend here or Quindonian on Twitter down below. So you can do that and say hello to them. And we're going to jump into an after party shortly after that. And please, guys, during this COVID-19 thing, be safe, be well, and be kind. Right. And like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.